This is a very historic prison. We've been a prison since around 1880. Prison proper is 18,000 acres. It's surrounded on 3 sides by the Mississippi River, 4th side by the Tunica Hills. We've been called the Alcatraz of the South before because of our geographic location. Today our offender population is right at 6,200. We have about 1,400 staff members here at Angola. Very large operation. As far as maximum security prisons, we are probably the largest maximum security prison in America. It's very interesting because we have 2 different types of populations here housed at Angola. We have a core Angola population, which is basically a lifer population. We believe it's probably the largest concentration of true lifers in America. And in Louisiana, life means life, because once you receive, for example, a life sentence for second-degree murder, that is without a parole eligibility date. So Warden Kane has been a master at coming up with ingenious programs to keep hope alive, to change people from within, change their heart, change them morally, because moral people won't hurt you. And then through the inmate organizations that we have, Warden Kane's authorized the formation of about 30 to 40 various inmate organizations. They tend to want to give back to society, and once the moral rehabilitation programs are in place, then through rodeo concession sales, the inmate organizations are allowed to have a philanthropic mission statement that does allow them to give back to society, from which they've taken so much. And that's the result of that is strictly the moral rehabilitation programs that have planted the seed, they've grown, and you're really harvesting the fruit for the moral rehabilitation programs. We went to the main prison interfaith chapel, which is our largest interfaith chapel that we have here in Angola, and it seats 800, and these chapels were built through the Louisiana Prison Chapel Foundation through outside donations. And Warden Kane says there are 2 things that have been critical to changing the very violent culture here at the prison. One, behind prison walls, we have an accredited branch campus of the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. We graduate inmate ministers. We refer to a lot of these programs as our moral rehabilitation programs. We're bringing, even if you never get out of prison, you want to make these moral rehabilitation programs available, because everybody has a job. If you're medically able to work, you do have a job. So it makes for a more normal existence with some of the long-term sentences we have in Louisiana. Angola becomes their home, it becomes their land. And if they have a more normal existence, then that's going to equate out to a less violent prison. We're probably the only prison in the country that has its own radio station. And we've had a radio station for a number of years, but under Warden Kane's watch several years ago, there was two various groups on the East Coast that raised the money to upgrade the station to a low wattage FM station, and it's a Moody affiliate. So we're very proud of the radio station, and it does serve a great purpose, a very important purpose for us, because with 18,000 acres, 6,200 people, if Warden Kane needs to address the entire inmate population, then he has the capacity to do that through the radio station.
Good morning. Indeed, you are tuned in to KLSP 91.7, your incarceration station, the only one in the nation, the station that kicks behind the bricks. I'm your host, Big Shaq, and once again, I am back. I want to interrupt this morning service to bring to you a very special guest we have here in house. We have Miss Louisiana. Oh yeah, hey guys, she's pretty. All right, so Miss Louisiana, you're here today touring the facility. Have you enjoyed what you've seen so far?
I have. It's been absolutely wonderful pulling up. I mean, obviously, it's beautiful. It's raining and it's still pretty, and the atmosphere that you guys have here is It's really special, and it's kind of incredible. It's a lot different than maybe an outsider would expect coming into it.
Okay, so you're here on today. Prior to you making it to this stage in your career, being Miss Louisiana, what can you tell the guys kind of like what kind of work, hard work, or what work did you have to put in? How did you even get selected to even be in this kind of thing?
Well, it was kind of an accident that I sort of fell into it. In high school, I played soccer, and my goal was to play collegiately. I played for the state of Louisiana. I was on the Olympic Development Program, which is the pool of players that they pick the national team from and everything. And so that was my plan. And then I had a couple knee surgeries, and that totally ruined all of those plans. And I go into school, and a month before I showed up to Louisiana Tech for training, I re-injured my knee, and to the point where I can't even run anymore. And so I had to kind of find something new, and I entered life, and especially college, with this attitude of, okay, well, I'm going to try everything and find something that I want to do. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to be afraid to remake my life and restart. And one of my friends talked me into doing the school pageant, and it was a very tough road. It's not something you just wake up and are really good at. And coming out of my shell and having to learn a lot about myself, and over the past couple of years, I won on my third try. You compete at the Miss Louisiana pageant. There's a talent portion, swimsuit for health and fitness, interview, and evening gown, and you compete, and you have to keep coming back. It's a tough road, and you learn a lot about yourself, but it's getting knocked down to get back up even stronger.
And I think your being here today and saying that brings a measure of hope and understanding that even in life, when you are so-called free and on the outside, you're still faced with those sort of challenges where you have to give it all you got, even when it requires you to change course.
Oh yeah, definitely. And in being, and not being afraid to completely change the course. And and I'm 23, so I'm still young in the long road of life. But I think I've learned to develop this attitude that I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years, in 1 year. I have no idea. But not being afraid to just kind of move and adjust, and getting knocked down. I'm always joking with my mom, like, okay, this is enough. Life keeps happening, and it will be negative, and it will be upsetting, and it will be things you don't understand how you got to that point. But as long as you can get up, and I think sometimes when you get knocked down, that's when you have to shake yourself down to the absolute basics of who you are, and you figure out just how strong you really are and how strong you're going to be. And I mean, sometimes that's when the best things in life can happen, is when you get down to that point where you're like, I have absolutely nothing.
When you hit rock bottom, when you're at your lowest of your low, if you look up, you can get up. If you get up, God will raise you up.
Not letting your outside circumstances define you and people around you, and that's something I learned at a young age, dealing with family situations, a really bad divorce and things like that. A lot of issues that, looking at me, no one would ever assume. And from a young age, I've been coming back and having to fight through things, and I learned that I'm responsible 100% for myself, for my actions, for my attitude, for my mental state, for what I do. It's me. I can't blame someone else. I can't blame, and even if it's just your parents, can't blame my mom for this. I can't blame my dad. I can't blame this. And as soon as I realized that, it literally changed my whole life, because I realized that I can do whatever I want to do as long as I put in that work and that time and accept responsibility. And when I mess up, accepting the responsibility there. It's not just when good things happen, it's when it's really bad and you're left standing there and you think, okay, I really messed up this time. But it's apologizing, it's realizing that it was a 100% you, and you can't blame other people for your actions. And that's really the message that I speak to students when I go to them, is to just take responsibility for yourself.
Miss Louisiana, it has been my honor and
Thank
my
you.
pleasure to sit and talk with you. Guys, Miss Louisiana is in the house, beautiful as she can be, and thank you so much for stopping by KLSP 91.7. We now return you to our regular scheduled broadcast.
This is the historic Red Hat Cell Block building. This building was built in 1935. 1933, Angola received a very high-profile inmate into the system. His name was Charlie Frazier. And he was an escape risk. He came in January of 1933. By April of that year, masterminded really one of the worst escapes we'd seen in prison history. We had 2 officers killed, inmates killed. Charlie Frazier ran all the way to Texas, and he assisted in a Texas death row escape. By the time he was finally caught and brought back to Louisiana, the Red Hat had been built to house inmates like Charlie Frazier. It is very historic. It is on the National Register of Historic Places. Warden Kane's very adamant that we preserve our old historic buildings, because you have to know where you've been in your history so that you don't, in some cases, go back down that same path.
Tell us, why do they call it the Red Hat, and a little bit about the living conditions inside there.
It's called the Red Hat because in the 30s, if you lived in the Red Hat, that meant that you were a very dangerous inmate. So your straw hat was taken, dipped in red dye, and that made for a better target out in the fields, because at that point in our history, we had very few free security people that worked here. The great majority of our security was provided by inmate guards who were armed, and they were called khaki backs, and that was one of the things that led to a great deal of the brutality here at the prison. Well, you saw some of those cells, and if we had a buck or a work stoppage, it wouldn't be uncommon to have 10 or 15 inmates housed sometimes per cell at the Red Hat.
And next door?
Next door is the addendum building, is the first site of the electric chair permanently housed here at Angola. Late 1940s in Louisiana, hanging was the means of execution. Early 1950s, the legislature passed a law to make the electric chair the means of execution. And for a number of years, the electric chair was mobile and went from parish to parish carrying out the executions. Late 1950s, the legislature passed another law to make it stationary here at Angola, and this was the first site of the electric chair permanently housed here at the prison. In 1991, the legislature passed another law to make lethal injection the means of executions. Our first lethal injection was done in 1992. Lethal injection is now the means of execution in Louisiana.
We saw a whole wide variety of things. I got to go into their radio station. We went in onto death row, saw some of the inmates. We got to just really get up close and personal with the prison.
What are your impressions?
It's a lot different than I expected it to be. Warden Kane has done an amazing job of really emphasizing the morale programs and changing as well, and just that the inmates are involved in their area, and a lot of it, most of the prison is running off of inmate services and work and everything, which was really neat.
What was your reaction when you went into death row?
It was different than what I expected. It was just, you don't really know how to expect it, so your emotions kind of don't really know what to do, and I didn't know what to expect going in there, but it was interesting.
Your reaction to the visit by Miss Louisiana?
Oh, extraordinarily. Always very, very happy to have her come, because that's probably one of the only prisons in the country that you won't hear any profanity. We can take her into any areas of the prison, and she'd be safe, she'll be secure, and hopefully she'll take away a raised awareness of corrections, particularly here in Angola and in Louisiana.
I definitely think this is something people should do. I'd like to see and hear that schools are coming down and visiting. I think it's a wonderful example of it's where you don't want to end up. It goes along well. I go into schools and speak about not doing destructive things and making destructive decisions that can ruin your life. And so to come here and see, okay, this is where you could end up if in one moment you, a crime of passion, a crime of hate, whatever it might be, your whole life could be ruined. And I think when you talk to some of the inmates that are here for years, they'll say that, they wish that they could go back and had just thought about it or known or seen. And so I'm hoping that, as the tours continue and everything, that maybe this will help deter a student or make them think twice.